charming, and you are just and you are just waiting on that day to come once again. Now also, love bombing can also occur when you break up with them, and they will reintroduce that love bombing stage in order to start the abuse cycle again. So for example, you've broken up and you're living your life with your friends, you're going back out with your family, and they're like, oh snap, I'm losing them, I'm losing control. They're freaking out. So they're going to call you. There's going to be 100 missed calls. There's going to be 70 million text messages, IM messages, Skype messages, whatever they can do. They'll probably put on even a post on Facebook talking about, messing up and missing out on the one they love, acting like they're the victim, trying to get people to persuade you to go back with them. Like, oh, all he does or all she does is talk about you and how much they're in love with you and this, that, and the other, trying to get you to feel like, oh yeah, I do remember the times when he or she was super sweet with me. And they'll, make excuses. During that time, my mom was going through a cancer scare. So I was I was out of character, but that's not who I am. You remember how it was in the beginning of the relationship. And your choice from that moment will determine whether or not you get into that cycle of abuse again, which is so important of educating ourselves. Because again, we don't willingly go into relationships to get hurt. The reason why we stay is because we're far too deep in, because in the beginning it was nothing but roses and rainbows, and we felt as if this is the person that truly loves and cares for us. And especially, they will use your past against you. And we talked about oversharing, the lack of boundaries yesterday. Manipulators, abusers, narcissists, they will act like they're listening to your pain. Say you went through childhood trauma, sexual abuse, rape, or whatever you went through, a divorce. What they will do is use that pain to their advantage to control you. So you went through childhood trauma and you were talked down about, or what have you, belittled. They will constantly encourage you. But this encouragement comes with a price. It's not being selfless. It is a means to an end, because they are selfish and they want to control you. They are playing the long game. Love bombing is playing for the long game, because they know if they come at you crazy and crazy and abusive in the beginning, you're not going to be there. But because you're waiting for it to be like it was in the beginning, you stay and you explain away all the horrible behavior, And for me, for example, in the domestic violence relationship, it was a thing where we were arguing. No, in the beginning of the relationship, we didn't argue at all. And that was when he was trying to get with me. Few months down the line, he would gradually, emotionally and psychologically abuse me off and on, but it wasn't noticeable. I just explained it away as having a bad day, or he is going through something. That was my thing of, everybody goes through something and his parents are going through something and it's affecting him and his family. So I just need to be a support system right now. And they will use that against you, unfortunately. So we started having an argument, once every month. Then it became twice every month. Then it became once every week. Then a couple times a week. Then before you know it, we were arguing from sun up to sundown. Because according to him, I could not do anything right. I lost identity. I lost friends because of the isolation. All of this and this love bombing stage, I wasn't who I was anymore. I let him control who I was. And that's another reason why when people ask, why do you stay? If it's, they say, if it's so bad, they don't understand that it doesn't begin with terror and torture. Your hope, your biggest hope, and you have faith that they will be that sweet person once again. You're hoping and praying, and even reflecting to the childhood trauma that I went through with my father and mother. When it came to my mom, she was more psychologically, it was narcissistic abuse, and my dad was more physically abusive, and he was emotionally abusive as well, and psychologically, but he was the more physical one. But anyway, on the childhood trauma side, my mom would encourage me, but then she would put me down if I didn't do what she said. And then we'd have a good memory. We'll go to the mall, and you would see, all these mother and daughters together. So you're like, oh, okay. We have the perfect mom and daughter relationship. And then she would abuse me, and then we'll do a bonding activity. So there you go. That's that trauma bond. That's that love bombing. Before my mom would have me do something that wasn't right, she would love bomb me at first and act like she's caring for me and she loves me. But as soon as I don't do what she says because I don't feel comfortable, then all of a sudden, when I say an acidic tongue comes out, words that you never heard before, comes out to destroy a child, would happen. And so that's how some of us learn that in order to receive love, we must give to another person and be completely selfless and forget about the self. And so when we become adults, we don't know the difference because that was our foundation. So I just want to encourage you guys to know that you are loved, and that to watch out for these signs that we talked about today is very important, because we want to definitely get out of these situations or prevent these situations from going on in the future. Because believe you me, I was one of those girls before I got married a few years ago. I was like, why do I keep on ending up with these guys that have abusive tendencies? Why? Why do I seem to attract abusive guys? And I'm like, is my whole life going to be a person trying to be parasitic towards me? Is that what I'm meant for someone to use me? And I just did not understand. I just didn't understand until I started, praying, getting on the computer, educating myself, getting therapy. Because again, when you don't have that foundation, that healthy foundation, you don't know what's a healthy or unhealthy behavior. You just don't, and it's not your fault. Because you were not taught. You did not know. And so when people try to victim blame or shame, we don't know that we're being abused until it's too late. We don't know. And I just want to say, you guys, thank you for being a part of the podcast. And in the future, I'll do another trauma bond episode because that one had a lot of static. And again, we're trying to upgrade the system day by day, try to get things better for you guys so you can have a better listening experience. But I do want to leave with this to say what love is. And if anything goes opposite of this, it's not love, because we need to learn how to love ourselves as God loves us. And that's definitely prevention right there. So here we go. Again, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So this is what love is. So again, thank you guys for everything that you've been doing, downloading, sharing, because you know what? It needs to be more education on it. Abuse isn't just physical or sexual. It's not. And we need to get out of that narrative, because what happens is we're beginning to invalidate people's experiences. And then when something happens, when someone commits suicide or a homicide happens, then we want to cry and say, oh, I don't know why. Well, you invalidated a person's story. We need to be compassionate and loving, and not to be so one-dimensional on what abuse is or who an abuser is. Well, love you guys.
Thanks for joining us this week on Abuse Exposed. Make sure to subscribe to our show in Apple Podcasts and other social media platforms at Abuse Exposed so you never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on Apple Podcasts. Or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. Thanks for being a part of the community.